Hi everyone, Alexandra Jarrett, Jupiter Returns here with your weekly astrology forecast for the week of 20th to the 26th of January 2020. And we find ourselves now closing up at the lunar cycle. We're coming to the end of one cycle and the beginning of another this week. This is the cycle that we're ending. Began on, depending where you are in the world, in the UK here, on Boxing Day, we had this new moon solar eclipse. That was at 4 degrees of Capricorn. And that's what really began this whole process. We had a full moon eclipse 2 weeks later, which was the last one, followed by the Saturn-Pluto conjunction. So it's been a super intense eclipse period, and we're closing down that particular lunar cycle now. So over the weekend, the moon's been moving through Scorpio. So that's that really deep emotional kind of feelings that we've been going through. And she's now in the sign of Sagittarius. And today, around the middle of the day, she's joined up with Mars. So essentially what the moon is doing is, or what all of the planets are doing, if you try and think of it like clockwork, all right? And if you open up a watch or a clock, you'll see there's all these different cogs, layer upon layer upon layer. And there's really big ones in the background, and they get smaller and smaller as they come up to the top. So the background ones, these are these heavyweight planets, the Pluto, Uranus, Neptune, out there far in space, and they're doing things on a much slower, longer kind of time frame. And then we have the more personal planets, or the planets that are closer to the Earth, that we feel just a little bit more tangibly. They are on the next layer up. And then we have really the moon is the most on the surface. So she's kind of really how our moods change from one day to the next. And so that's why really she's the easiest point to access in terms of when you're connecting with the rhythms and the cycles. This is our closest astrological body, if you like. She's our closest neighbor, and so we feel her energy the most profoundly. And of course, we have this intimate relationship with her when we look into the night sky and we see her changes as each day passes. So she's really tapping, that taps us into how we're feeling from a day-to-day basis. So right now where she is in her cycle is she's really bringing to a close this cycle that was started in Capricorn. She's in the last sign before Capricorn, so she's meeting up with Mars in Sagittarius today, and that's going to give our immediate emotions a sense of irritability, a sense of more of a fire energy. So Mars wants to make things happen. Mars wants to get things done. Mars is a little bit rash and hasty sometimes, but all of this stuff really depends on what your starting point is. If you're the sort of person that doesn't have a great deal of dynamic energy in your chart, then having an extra dose of Mars is a really wonderful thing. It can get you motivated, it can get you wanting to move and make things happen. It can make you better able to fight for something, defend yourself, this kind of thing, be more assertive, and to go out and get what it is that you want. Whereas if you've already got a lot of that going on, then an extra dose of Mars can make you just that little bit more rash or hasty or impulsive, potentially even aggressive. So it really does depend on the starting point. So the moon will be giving us that little bit of an extra dose of Mars energy today. The other big news today is, of course, that we have the Sun finishing off his journey in Capricorn and moving into the sign of Aquarius. This is lovely because we've had a lot of earth energy, a lot of heavy energy with so many planets in earth signs. Now Mercury a few days ago moved into the sign of Aquarius, and the Sun has now followed. This is just lightening things up. It's bringing more air into the situation. Aquarius, despite its name, which has sort of connotations of water, it's actually an air sign. And it's very much related to the mind and to thinking and inspiration. So we're coming out of that heavy energy and moving into a more freer, more exciting energy. That's really, really good news. We also have today, Venus over there in the sign of Pisces, in her home, well, she's exalted, rather, not her home sign, she's actually exalted in the sign of Pisces. She is going to be making harmonious aspects to both the South Node and the North Node. So these are these karmic, fated, destined points in time. So really what we've got today is some help, some assistance from Venus. Venus in Pisces is all about unconditional love. And she's going to be quite a feature of the next week or more, in actual fact. So we're going to be refamiliarized with Venus energy. And if you get out in the evening, you know, around sunset time, you can see her. She's shining very, very bright. It's a beautiful time to connect with her. She's moving closer and closer to the earth all the time now. So try and do that if you can. As we move into Tuesday then, and the moon's moved through Sagittarius, waning all the while. She's shrinking and shrinking and shrinking. She's removing and taking things away now. This really is the point of release in her cycle. We've been shown the messages that we need to see. We can see how, you know, the Saturn-Pluto conjunction is playing out, how that's affecting us all. And really now it's a time of, okay, what do I need to release that's come up at this time? What's had its day, essentially? Because the more energy that we have in Aquarius, it's very much about the future. Both Aquarius and Sagittarius are very future-oriented energies. So where Capricorn and Saturn energy likes things to remain, it likes things to endure and last for a long time, things can ultimately become a little bit outdated, and they can hold us back. Whereas these energies that we now have in the fire and air signs, they're really saying, no, actually it's time to do something new and to move towards the future. So there's this real tussle between the new and the old that we have going on at this time. So on Tuesday, we've got the sun now firmly into Aquarius, and what that's going to create is, it's applying at this point, but a square aspect. Now this is provocative, this is very provocative energy. These are two fixed signs, which kind of adds to a sense of tension really between these two planets. So we've got Uranus down there in the sign of Taurus, and we have Sun in the sign of Aquarius, and they're applying into this square. So this really is filling us full of kind of a provocative, irritating energy that's all about making a bid for freedom, essentially. Uranus energy, and Uranus is one of the two rulers of Aquarius, so there's a receptivity there. Uranus is all about what makes you, you. You know, what's individual about you, what's completely authentic about you. It's quirky, it's eccentric, it doesn't want to conform. It wants everything but conformity. So it's a very rebellious, a very maverick energy, because this is what gives us our sense of, well, what makes me different from everyone else. So when we pair that up with, you know, these energies over there, you know, the sun, the core essence, it's really saying, I need to find a new way of doing things. I need to shed the old system, the old way of doing things, and get more in alignment with what's really the core essence of who I am, underneath all of the conditioning that the current structure has placed upon me that's now really, at one point perhaps that's kept me safe and it's given me a structure to work within in my life, but now it's just oppressive. Okay, so we look at the perfect example of all of this situation at the moment is Prince Harry and Meghan Markle, you know, breaking away from the old traditional patriarchal establishment of the monarchy and saying, you know, this just doesn't align with who we are. This isn't how we see our future. All right. And, you know, Uranus is in the sign of Taurus, and Taurus is all about, you know, it's about our resources. So it's about our connection to the planet, to Gaia, to Mother Earth, and how we're using those resources. It's also about what we treasure, okay? And that's a big part of our authenticity. What makes me different from someone else is that I have a different value system, all right? We all do, and we need to get back to aligning the structure of our lives with what it is that really, truly means something to us on a core level. So if the way of doing things at the moment for the young royals really doesn't sit well with their value system, then yeah, there's this bid for freedom. There's this real desire to do things completely differently now, to be completely radical and new and just break free, essentially. So we really have a strong dose of that desire, that bid for freedom, and a bid to just break away and find the true essence at this time, which is very exciting. Just a word of caution though, these kind of exciting energies, and with Mars in a fire sign too, we can burn our bridges, you know. We can sort of be so in a rush to start something new that we let go of things that still can give us something. So find the balance, but capture that innovative, authenticating energy now this week if you can, because we can really start to move out of being stuck in a rut, essentially, particularly with the way that we think about things. You know, Aquarius is all about the mind and the thinking and the intellect. So this can really push us to be creative and come up with new ideas and approach things from a different angle. As I'm doing today, the sun was too bright for me to record this video in the usual spot. So I've had to be innovative and balance my board on the sofa and kind of come up with a new idea of recording this video. And it's exactly that. You know, I'm not letting go of doing the video, I'm just doing it in a different way because those energies have pushed me to think creatively and come up with a different way of doing things. Essentially, that's the energy that's going on. So the sun applying in this 10th square aspect on Tuesday. As we move into Wednesday, we have now Venus will be in a really, really supportive aspect called a sextile, and that's up to, so Venus over here in Pisces, and the sextile is being created to Jupiter in Capricorn. So this is really lovely energy, and by this point, the moon is in the sign of Capricorn too. So she's really now starting to move over all of those planets that we have in Capricorn and release things, you know, letting go of things, saying, you know, this is something I'm going to leave behind as we approach the new lunar cycle. And I think Venus and Jupiter connecting in this way at this point is really calling for forgiveness. Okay, that's the key essence, really, when these two come together. It's a very, very forgiving energy. And it's saying, okay, whatever came up at that time, how can I bring some forgiveness into the situation? How can I forgive myself for my reaction to the situation? Because, you know, it's been very, very challenging. You know, our backs have really been against the wall. And a lot of people have had some really, really shocking situations that they've had to deal with. You know, and our ability to meet these situations comes through time, it comes through experience. That's one of the joys, that's the wisdom of age. It's simply experience, you know? And this is what we can learn from Capricorn and Saturn, that not everything old is outdated. Some of it is incredibly wise because it has experience of doing these things repeatedly and being able to master a situation. But when something hits you and it's brand new, then we can react from our conditioning. We can react in ways that perhaps we feel we have to in order to conform. Okay, so if those things have happened within you or have taken place in interactions with others, now is a time really to say, you know, everyone's having a really tough time right now, and everyone's just doing the best that they can with where they are in terms of their growth, their spiritual evolution. So bringing some real forgiveness into any situations that you've got going on that are a little bit tense. It's also very, very hopeful energy, bordering on idealistic, but I think with it being a sextile, that keeps it from straying too far into those realms. So Venus is, especially in Pisces, Venus is very much about, you know, the perfect idea of how things could be or should be. It's essentially John Lennon's song, Imagine. You think of the words to that song, and that really evokes the feeling of Venus in Pisces. Imagine if there was no war, these kinds of things. And it can get carried off down that road and lose touch with reality just a little bit. But right now, we've got a heck of a lot of reality around anyway. So I think we could do with a dose of this kind of idealistic, dreamy energy. Jupiter, so the connection to Jupiter is lovely because they're very receptive energy to each other because they both rule the sign of Pisces. So there's a lovely connection. They're both the what are called the benefic planets. So they tend to bring good things. And Jupiter really is about how we can grow, how we can expand, where we can create opportunity. And Jupiter's going to be a really, really important figure in the whole scene of 2020. He's going to be giving us even more of this Aquarian energy as we move towards the end of 2020. We're starting another important cycle, like we've just begun the cycle between Saturn and Pluto. At the end of the year, it's going to be another Saturn and Jupiter cycle starting. So Jupiter is going to be moving through the sign of Capricorn, retrograding back, and then moving forward again and starting that new cycle very much towards the end of the year. So, you know, the work that we're doing with Jupiter throughout this sign, so wherever Capricorn is in your chart, is going to be very active this year. So setting the scene this way is lovely, and it's kind of like looking for ways that we can expand Jupiter through forgiveness and love and understanding that as other people have more in life, we all benefit. You know, the Capricorn way tends to be competitive. You know, it's the capitalist model of we're all competing for the same position and trying to sort of play off in a very kind of masculine hierarchical way to get to the top of the mountain. You know, this Aquarius and Pisces is much more about understanding equality and understanding the interconnectedness. So we want other people to do well because we know that we're fundamentally connected to them. So, you know, through the matrix, the energy matrix that we're all part of, you know, if the more hopeful, loving, kind, forgiving, understanding, compassionate energy there is in that matrix, we're all benefiting. So it's that kind of energy that says, you know, I want good for all humanity, not just myself. Pisces is the least selfish sign. It's the most selfless sign. It's furthest removed from ego. So how can we look for opportunities to, put that into the world and expand that energy for everyone? I really think that's what the Venus-Jupiter message is on Wednesday and further into the week. In the evening on Wednesday, we actually have the moon going deeper into Capricorn. She's going to be crossing over the nodal axis. So this really is a potent time in terms of where we find ourselves on our own path between where we've come from and where we're going to. And it's, that part of the cycle where we can be releasing. So if we're engaged with this energy of Venus and Jupiter at this point, when the moon goes over the nodes, I think that's a really, really supportive kind of situation to allow us to bring forgiveness, to allow us to bring that healing and that compassion. Okay, as we move then into Thursday the 23rd of January, the Sun-Uranus square that's been building in the background all the way throughout the week, that's now going to perfect first thing in the morning. So it's an unstable kind of volatile energy. As I say, Uranus wants to rebel. It wants to not conform, essentially. So we may find situations, perhaps in the news or in our own lives, that have that kind of shocking quality to them. With Taurus ruling our resources, it rules money, so it rules the financial system. So we may even find some more shocks in that sense. It's Mother Earth, and we've had a lot of volcanic and earthquakes and that kind of event taking place as well ever since Uranus moved into the sign of Taurus, and that kind of thing could also be activated again with this kind of energy. So watch out for that. And as the day moves on, the moon will then go through the Saturn-Pluto conjunction. That's now 23 degrees of Capricorn. It's moved on 1 degree from where they became exact last Sunday. So she's going to be moving through that stuff. Again, this is a great opportunity to just let go. We passed the quarter square, and the quarter square is the time when we integrate things, where we've digested things and we've made the decision now about what's coming with us and what's not. And this is the point where what we've decided isn't coming with us. This is that time to really have the intention of letting that stuff go, cleansing and purifying and releasing. Okay, so whatever ceremonial things that you do, or whether it's just being with yourself, going within, as we approach the new moon, that's the best time essentially to spend just time with yourself. Just check out of whatever day-to-day activities that you've got going on, and just spend a little bit of time with yourself, go inwards, and really just see what's going on there. And just have that intention of release. Take a shower and let everything wash down the drain. Smudge with your sage, have a salt bath, write something down and burn it. Whatever it is you do, this is the time, okay, to be doing that kind of thing. So we also have building up in the background at this time, Mars is coming into a challenging aspect, another square aspect, so a tense, provocative situation here. Mars and Venus, okay, so this is the masculine and the feminine, and they're building up into a square, and this is going to be hanging around for a little while. So essentially what we've got is Venus wants to connect. She's kind of like the copper wire in the system. She wants to work together in harmony, and she does that by connecting them, and then the current can pass through. Okay, and in fact, Venus is ruled by the metal copper. Mars, on the other hand, it's all about the individual. It's all about the ego, and it's kind of about separation. Mars doesn't want to feel restricted and held back, because Mars has got a job to do. You know, Mars is the hunter-gatherer. Mars wants to go out there and hunt and, you know, find things and perform its duties, and it can't do that if it's sort of tethered. So there's this tussle between these two energies, and this essentially is, you know, the age-old conflict of the sexes, of the genders. And we all have some Mars in us, and we all have some Venus in us, and in differing proportions, like with all of the planets and all of the signs. But when these two form this kind of aspect, there is this fight. Well, I want connection, I want separation. How do we settle that difference? So that kind of energy is building up in the background now. So it's not the best time for, you know, smooth, harmonious relations with other people. It's not essentially the best time. You know, Venus rules money and luxury things. So it's not really the best time to be going out and doing anything Venus related, like making a big purchase or even beauty treatments and things like that. So just bear that in mind if that's cropping up. That's building up as we move forward now. So Friday, the moon has finished her journey through Capricorn and now moves into the sign of Aquarius. So we've got even more of this wonderful, exciting, creative, inventive energy, more air energy, more Aquarius energy. So this is really exciting. So she moves into Aquarius. That's also going to mean then that we have both luminaries creating this square to Uranus. So that's bringing a little bit more emphasis into that kind of tension that's going on there, and that desire for something new, that desire to break free and be different. And that's really essentially what this new moon is all about, because when she reaches 4 degrees of Aquarius in the late evening, that's when we are going to start a brand new lunar cycle. And this is the Aquarius New Moon, and that's at 4 degrees of Aquarius. So find Aquarius in your chart. If you've got any planets or angles or anything else you're working with at those early degrees of Aquarius, then this is a new start. What house does this occupy in your chart? Where are you having this fresh new beginning that you can come up from a whole different angle? You know, just say, I'm not going to do this like this anymore. I'm going to do things new. All right. If you've got any planets or angles at the beginning of Aquarius, but also fellow air signs of Gemini and Libra, they're going to be really positively aspected by this lunation as well. So look at those signs as well, because they will be getting a trine aspect to this energy too. So what houses do they occupy? What planets are getting pulled into the picture for you? You're building up, you're synthesizing, essentially, like that clockwork I talked about. You're synthesizing all of these energies to really create the picture that's bespoke for you. All right, I can do this bit for you. And if you get a reading with me personally, which obviously is the thing that you should do, but if you can't do that, you know, getting to know your chart, getting to know the astrology, and familiarizing yourself and seeing if you can formulate and synthesize where all these things are happening so you can create your own meaning is incredible, super empowering. So try and do that. And I'm hoping to be working on some videos in the very near future that's going to help you to do just that. And if you'd like to work with me one-on-one, then please do get in touch. It's super easy. Book a moon reading with me and I'll look at the lunation cycles that you're going through, or a transit reading or anything else. So we have this fantastic, exciting, inventive new start on Friday. And then as we move into Saturday, the Venus-Mars situation is now really, really, really getting tight. Okay, so this could be a tense day. What's helpful though at this point is Mercury is going to be creating a nice sextile aspect over to Mars. So I think what that's suggesting is if tension is arising, perhaps, you know, in relationships, in your domestic situation, perhaps, Mercury is there to help. So talk. All right. And if you can't talk, write. Okay. Even if you have to write to each other. Okay. It's Mercury is going to really throw a lifeline into this situation. So use Mercury, connect with Mercury. That could just diffuse things a little bit and just smooth the way. Then as we move into Sunday, Venus at this point is coming up to a conjunction with Neptune, absolutely blissful energy over there in Pisces. And I will be talking a bit more about that as we move into next week, because that's some really beautiful energy that we really want to capture if we can. So I hope you've enjoyed this. I hope you have a really, really fantastic week. I hope you're able to tap into this exciting, fresh, new, airy breather that we've got from the heavy energy. Thanks so much for watching. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel. It's brand new, and so the numbers are a little bit low at the moment, but I'm really looking to grow that if I can. If this has value and meaning to you, then please, I'd really appreciate your support. Thanks so much for watching. Lots of love. Bye.